Hey guys, welcome to this video where I'm going to show you some easy steps to get your audio nice and clean. And if you want an example of what I mean, just listen to this. Dead silence. Now, there's several reasons you would want your audio clean. Maybe you're a content creator, maybe you're a podcaster, and you are probably contending with outside sounds, with the AC, with your fan, with an untreated room like I have here, and you want to reduce all of those echoes, all of those little ambient noises that cause hisses and hums in the background. You probably just want to clean up your audio, and it does take quite a bit of work to do it after the fact because yes, you have tools like Audacity, or like I have on screen here, Camtasia, which has an excellent editor and built-in tools for noise reduction. So you do have the noise removal effect that you can add to your audio, and then you can do some analysis, and based on the type of mic you're using, based on the overall quality of the sound going in, it may or may not work efficiently. But the fact is that after you've done your recording, editing your sound can take another chunk of time, and I want to eliminate that variable for you. So I'm going to try a noise removal on Camtasia just so we can gauge what it sounds like. So before I even put the setting, let me give you a preview of what it sounds like. This is an audio recording directly from my microphone. I have my AC running, and you might hear other hums and clicks and pops in the background, but this is my raw mic audio. All right, so that was the raw mic audio. If you listened with good headphones, I'm sure you could hear the background noises, the AC running, and you just hear that general hum or static coming from the microphone. So Camtasia would give you the option to go to audio effects, drag on noise removal, and then you can do analyze, which it automatically takes a sample. So generally you'd want to leave like a 5-second gap at the start of the video, so it has a sample of what the noise in the background sounds like, so that it can know what to do to the rest of the audio. But when I do that, listen to it. This is an audio recording directly from my microphone. I have my AC running. That's destroyed. I don't like that at all. It completely destroyed my audio. It couldn't differentiate between the noise and my voice, so it started cutting out frequencies that my voice needed. And everybody's voice is different, so analyze might work for you, better, than it works for me. Other elements are in there, like the reverb in the room, those little things. The analyze is trying to reduce all of that. So it has the best intentions, but at the expense of the quality of the rest of the audio. So I'm going to remove that noise removal. Oh, sorry. I should show you that you can also manually use these settings, and you would have to gauge them. So you'd have to be turning up the sensitivity and the amount and listening. And to me, that takes a lot of time away just trying to get the audio right. And when you're spitting out, content, your courses, whatever it is you create, your YouTube videos, or you're on maybe live streaming, you don't have time to be sitting down and listening that keenly to your audio. So what I'm about to show you is how I get the audio clean, then record, and then anything I do afterwards is probably just candy. So my journey starts off with, your journey will start off with VB Audio software. So you can go to vb-audio.com, and you want to go over to the audio apps and choose the audio cable, virtual audio cable. So what this does is, an audio cable connects one audio source to another one, right? Or an input to an output. You can have software output its audio to the input part of the audio cable, and then the audio cable serves as an output device on your computer. I hope that made sense. Right? So pretty much it creates what you call a loopback. So right now I actually have software pushing my audio to this virtual audio device, and then what you're hearing now in this recording from my recording software, which in this case is Camtasia, is the output from that VB audio. So that's what I do. All right, so you can go ahead and download that for whatever type of machine you have. Of course, you might have to restart as it is a new driver. So you can go ahead and do that. And it's very inconspicuous. It will sit in the background. You won't even know it's there until you have to change your settings, right? Next up is Reaper. Now, Reaper is the software that I'm using to feed into the VB audio cable. The license for Reaper is about $60, and that $60 fee is like so inexpensive for the quality that I'm able to put out for my content. So you can go ahead, do the 60-day evaluation and see if it's worth it. Now, this is my Reaper screen. I've obviously have it installed already. And I must say that what happens is that Reaper has to be running in the background while I'm recording, because once again, my audio goes into Reaper and then Reaper is pushing the audio out to the VB audio cable. But I'm going to explain all of that in a few. But full disclosure, my machine is a gaming machine, so I have very good specs. That's why I'm able to run these applications simultaneously. So if you have a lower spec machine, I think Reaper is going to work out well because it uses very few resources. There are other software that you can use, because Reaper is just a DAW, or digital audio workstation, which means that people come in here, they connect their instruments, different audio sources, and they can record tracks, making music, etc. So Ableton, other DAWs can work, but Reaper is not as resource intensive as the other one. So I think it's very good if your machine is not as super powered necessarily as mine. And I mean, if it's more super powered than mine, then you will have absolutely no problem. But it is a good choice for lower spec machines also. So you can see here my audio levels are jumping all over the place. So let me just show you how to get started once you have the audio cable installed and Reaper. To give you a bit more information on my recording stock, I am using a Shure MV7 mic, and that is connected to a Focusrite audio interface. But regardless of the type of mic you're using, this will work, right? So regardless of your mic setup or your recording software setup, what I'm about to show you will work. Of course, the quality of the mic will also influence the quality of the audio, because like my laptop mic did not work very well with this whole setup, but my Shure mic really does sound well. So with the audio track, what you want to do is disable monitoring, right? So you want to disable this, because if you don't, you'll be hearing yourself, right? So you don't want to do that. So you can disable the record and disable input monitoring only. You just make sure that that option is ticked. And for the inputs, just make sure that you are pointing to the correct channel that your microphone is feeding from. So right now I have a Focusrite with 2 channels. So I'm doing mono from input 2, which is where my mic is plugged in, right? So you have to make sure that you're feeding from the correct mic channel if you're using an interface. And if not, then it should be easier, but you can just go ahead and make sure it's on mono at least. All right, guys, so what you're hearing now is the raw audio from my mic going into my recording software. I had to do this because I'm about to show you some options that in Reaper would disable the audio input and the audio flow anyway. So just bear with me for this section. In Reaper, what we want to do is jump over to options, go to preferences, and then we are going to scroll down and look for audio and device. So under device settings, you have a number of things that you have to consider, and the sample rate is one of them, because the sample rate coupled with the buffer size will determine your lag versus the quality of the audio. So in my case, I'm using a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, and I have my sample rate at 4800 with my buffer size at 256. Now, based on your computer and your specs, you may end up tinkering with this a bit, but I'm showing you my settings, so at least you can try my settings, and if they don't work, then you can go up or down. The lower the buffer size, I think the more crackles and pops, it will deteriorate the audio. The bigger the buffer size, it will introduce a bit more latency or lag between when you talk and when the audio actually gets registered, which if you do screencasts like me would be a huge risk to the quality of your video. So under preferences in Reaper, you want to choose your audio system. So ASIO is another very good software that I did not remember to tell you or recommend to you. But ASIO or ASIO for All is a very popular driver that is recommended especially for Windows computers, and it creates a very low latency input environment for your computer reading between the microphone and the output, or it's usually used on Windows PCs for your digital audio workstations. For me, the downside that I have not been able to get around, so if you know how to get around it, I would love to hear in the comments. But the downside that I have experienced is that it takes exclusive control of your audio devices. So once ASIO is running, once the DAW is running, right, and the ASIO for All is the engine, as you see here, then all audio from any other app stops. I can't watch a YouTube channel. I can't edit my video in Camtasia once Reaper is running, stuff like that. So I would never, I stopped using it for that reason. However, if you have a lower spec machine, then it is perfect. So I do recommend that you get it, you try it, and with very minimal setup, you would be able to have very low latency audio in this very setup. For me though, I'm using the WAS API driver here, and it's very simple to set up. I just need to determine or say what the input device is. So that is my analog Focusrite, or whichever interface or whichever microphone it is that you have, right? And then the output device would be cable input VB audio, right? So it is basically saying, where should I take audio from and where should I output it to? So I'm saying output it to the virtual audio cable. And then yeah, just leave everything else as default, and then it set the sample rate for me. So based on if I used ASIO, this is what ASIO would look like, right? So I have a few ASIO drivers available to me because Focusrite comes with its own ASIO driver, but the ASIO for All is the one that I just recommended that you download. You can enable the inputs, so I'm just enabling input 1 and input 2, and then I'm saying I want to output to the VB audio point 1, VB audio point 2. You can always go into the ASIO configuration and change up a few more things, but you want to make sure that whatever your sample rate is for your interface, if you're using one, make sure that those settings match as closely as possible in ASIO. So the ASIO configuration looks like this. These are other things that you have to do. One, you have to make sure that you're enabling the inputs from the Focusrite. So you'll notice that some of them are blacked out, some of them are white. You enable by clicking, it will turn to white when it's enabled, and then you will see the audio cable and the out channel is also enabled, right? Once again, the buffer size that matches the buffer size on my Focusrite setup, and I'm enabling both inputs from the Focusrite in this situation. So once you do all of that from here, you can just leave anything that you're not using disabled. You see, I have a number of audio devices registered on the PC, so you can just go ahead and leave those alone if anything, and just focus on the audio cable and your focal point, which is your microphone. And then you just go ahead and enable what needs to be enabled, and then you can click OK. Once again though, ASIO will take exclusive control of your audio devices. So I'm using WAS API, and it has been working pretty well for me, but that really works well when you have a higher spec machine. All right, so we're almost at the finish line. I just want to show you one more section that is really going to make the difference. So once you see your levels going up and down while you're talking, then you have successfully configured the input-output flow. And if you're not hearing yourself, that means you have the correct settings for that channel. Now, what you're going to want to add to that channel are effects, and Reaper came with a whole suite of plugins called Reaper plugins. I'm going to show you the plugins that I'm using. I'm not saying these are the ones you must use for your situation, and I'm not necessarily saying that these are the settings that you should use, because everybody's situation is different. Like I said, this is what is working for me in an untreated room with a lot of ambient noise. So you might end up not needing as many things as I do, or you might end up needing more, but at least I want to plant the foundation so you can appreciate what your options are. So when you click on the effects, you get this dialog box that allows you to add different effects. So you can just go ahead and click add. And once you do that, you're going to get another dialog box that shows you all the plugins. So my plugins right now are Reefer, Re-EQ, the transient controller, de-esser, and a compressor called Recomp, right? So pretty much if you want one, you just go ahead and filter. So I'm going to show you what the Reefer plugin does for me. So if you want to try with that one, you can just type in Reefer, and I'm using that plugins edition, right? So Reefer actually allows you to create like a noise profile of your environment. That is so cool, right? So when I'm quiet, please just look at the graph. While I'm quiet, you see those gray things jumping all about, right? You'll also notice that there's this red one that goes down. So what this is doing is it's analyzing your environment, and it's showing you the sounds at whichever frequencies that is picking up. So I would recommend you do this maybe when your AC, the things that are usually constant in the background, like the AC, your PC fan maybe, and I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say the TV and the children playing, because those are other frequencies that are higher that might interfere with your voice. But what it's doing is picking up the lower frequencies and trying to cut them out. So it will affect your voice, right? And based on your voice might come out much cleaner or a little thinner than usual. So, you have to gauge this one again. So what you would do is go to mode, you click subtract, right? And then you say enable automatic noise profile. And then once you do that, you give it like 5 seconds. So I'm going to do that right now. Right? So that actually just changed my noise profile. I'm not going to save this, of course, because I don't want to change my noise profile, but that's what it will do. So now anything that is red will automatically get cut out of your voice. I don't know if I sound differently now because it's cutting out newer frequencies than it did before, but that is essentially what it would do, because now it's picking up more of my PC fan than the AC. The AC isn't running right now. So those are little things that can affect it. So you might, play around with this one for a few times until it sounds good enough for you. So once again, you choose mode, subtract, then automatically build noise profile, and leave it for about 5 to 10 seconds. Allow it to gather whatever. And then you just disable it, and that's your noise profile. Once you have that effect running, it will automatically cut out those frequencies. Now the EQ, I use this to try and boost parts of my voice that are probably being cut out by the Reefer plugin. So firstly, I enable a high pass, so that high pass automatically says anything below this frequency. It could be a car in the distance, it could be the lawnmower in the distance. The decibel level is not that high, or the general tenor of the sound is low, like the AC hum, stuff like that. It will automatically cut that out. So those two will work together. This one you definitely will have to play around with, because you may want a bass boost. Based on your voice, you may end up boosting it a bit more or cutting it a bit more. So you can actually introduce new bands, and you can raise the high shelf band like that. If you want a little more treble in your voice, or if you don't want as much treble, you can reduce it. Stuff like that. I'm sure you're hearing my voice change. At least if you're using good headphones while you're listening, you're probably hearing those settings change my voice as I speak. Now, for me, the transient controller was a godsend. Transient controller helps to reduce the echo in your room. I can't say it any better than that, right? So you can actually just add this if you're in an untreated room like this, and you can, just play around with it. So I actually sat down with my headphones and I continued talking while I shifted these all around. And these are the settings that actually work for my untreated room. So I mean, if you're hearing an echo, you can let me know in the comments, or too much reverb, you can still let me know in the comments. But I think that this works out pretty well for me. The de-esser is something that reduces the harsh hiss when you say S words. So I'm saying a lot of S words right now. I don't know if you're hearing a hiss when I do that, but you can add that. I heard a lot of sharp S's and hisses when I was speaking in my recording, so I have that one. You may not need it based on your speech pattern or even maybe your microphone. And then I have a compressor. So the compressor, basically, I just put that to modern vocal, but it has a number of presets. You have modern vocal and you have background vocals. So the compressor pretty much allows your audio to be steady. So even when I shout and elevate my voice, you will see that this is hitting down the higher decibels, even though it's trying to go that high. But basically my audio volume will kind of stay consistent. So even when I shout, I'm probably not going to deafen you, but you can still hear that I put in emphasis, right? I hope I didn't deafen you. Let me know in the comments. So that's pretty much it. That's my stack. Once again, these settings are not absolute. I'm not saying that these are the catch-all, fix-all for your environment. You may have to end up tinkering with them a bit, but at least this is how you can clean up your audio, going directly into your recording software and drastically reduce the amount of time you spend editing your audio. So that's it from me today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this video helped you. If you have any other recommendations or any alternative techniques, I would love to hear, because I'm always willing to learn new things to make the work more efficient. If this is your first time here, feel free to subscribe and like this video and share it with anybody who you think this content might also help. See you next time.